Welcome back to day 5. I think of day 5 as a Friday, so happy Friday if it's Friday for you. All right, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little bit of a scavenger hunt around your home. And what we're going to do first, though, is just kind of review what we were learning about yesterday. And hopefully yesterday you played concentration so that you remember when you see 3/10, you know that it equals 30/100. Okay? If you see 50/100, hopefully you remember that it's 5/10, right? And the reason this is important is equivalencies are really important when we're adding and subtracting fractions, which is what we'll be doing next week. So I just want you to remember, if you get a math problem where you have maybe 7/10 plus 2/100, you'll remember that this is 70/100, and then you just need to add the 2/100, right? So that's just kind of a quick shortcut for you to be aware of as we move into adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, I want you to look at that concept that we covered yesterday one more time. So on your notebook paper, what I'd like you to do is make a place value chart. And so we're going to have ones, and we're going to have tenths, and we're going to have hundredths. And I will be abbreviating my hundredths. And when we say hundredths as decimals, we say that TH sound because it's not 100, it's 100th. It's 1/100th, one little small part of a whole. Okay, so I'm going to show you a different way to look at what we were learning yesterday. So let's say I said, what is 2/10 plus 7, I'm writing backwards here, 7/100. Well, all you would really need to do is put these two digits in the correct place value. So this is 2/10, right? And this is 7/100. Oops, 7/100. So if we put our decimal point down, we have 27/100. Okay, let's try another one. Let's add a whole number in here. Let's do 5 plus 6/100 plus 8/10. Go ahead and plug these digits into the correct place value. And if you want to pause, go ahead. I'm going to put my 5 in the ones column. I'm going to put my 6/100 in the hundredths column, and I'm going to put my 8/10 in my tenths column. And now my addition problem, it can be seen right here. The answer is 5 86/100. Okay, let's do one more, and then I'm going to show you what you're going to do today. Okay, this time I will do, let's see, 4/10 plus 3 wholes plus 9/100. And I'm writing backwards today because I keep thinking of writing them as fractions. So that's where I'm getting a little bit confused. Okay, they're the same thing though. I guess I'm not so confused. Just my hand and my brain aren't doing the same thing. Okay, so now what we have is 4/10. Where is that going to go? It's going to go right there. We have 3 wholes. Where's that going to go? It'll go right there. And my 9/100 will go right there. And you'll notice when I put the digit 9 into the hundreds column, I lose the 0 because the 0 is technically over here. And this is a placeholder 0 to show that this is 9/100 and has no tenths. But when we're adding them, we now have 4/10 plus 9/100 or 40/100 plus 9/100 and get our answer, which is 3 49/100. Okay, what you're going to do today is review the concepts of hundredths and what that looks like. So we talked a lot about hundredths with money. Pennies are 1 out of 100 in one whole dollar, but we're going to revisit the number line here. So I have sent this to your parents. You should have it at home. If you don't want to use that, you can always use a ruler. Either one is fine with me. It doesn't really matter. I liked this one a little bit better just because it was bigger for me. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to get a piece of notebook paper and you're going to create a chart. And the chart's going to look like this. You're going to write down object, and then you're going to write down units. And if you're using a real ruler or a real meter stick, your header right there will be centimeters, but if you're using this as a tool, it's just going to be units because these aren't true centimeters. These are different. But what they are is they are divided into decimals up to the hundredths. So here we have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. It goes all the way up to 1 whole. This is 2 wholes, and that's 3 wholes. So in between what we have is we have 1/100th, 2/100ths, 3/100ths, 4/100ths, 5/100ths, and if I kept counting, I'd get up to 100 hundredths here, and 100 more hundredths here, and 100 more hundredths there. So this whole tool has 300 hundredths. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to get an object and you are going to measure it, just a household object. Like for example, I want to measure my scissors. So I'm going to write down scissors here and I'm going to measure to the nearest hundredth. And I cut off my edge of my ruler here so that I could see right where the 0 began. And I can see that this goes up to right about here, which isn't 2 1/10, it's less than that. It's about 2 9/100ths. So this object is 2 9/100ths. And I'm going to write U for units. If you're doing centimeters, you'd write centimeters. Okay? Let's try a marker. So I better write this down. So I would write down scissors. And then I'm going to do my marker. And I can measure things that are bigger than this tool or smaller than this tool. That's totally okay. Because if you measure something bigger, you can go ahead and use this tool several times to measure. So here, my marker, and I'm going to make sure I'm measured right up against the 0 there. My marker is 1 5/10, but it's more than that, right? So I'm going to do 1 5/10, so that's 1 50 hundredths, 1 51, 52, 53, 54. I'm going to estimate that this is 1 54 hundredths of a unit. Okay, so you're going to find 10 household items to measure, and you can go around the house. You can measure your toothbrush, you can measure a coffee cup, you can measure a tape dispenser. Just as you go around measuring, make sure that if your parents are using a pen while they're working, you don't borrow their pen to measure that, okay? Because they're probably busy at the moment. So that's what you're going to do. And if you need a little bit of help with this, ask someone who can help you and give you some tips if you get confused, because at first this can be a little bit confusing. But just to remind you, that on this, I'm going to just zoom in on my 1 here. This is 1 10 hundredths. We just don't see the 0. So that's 1 10 hundredths. So this is going to be 1 9 hundredths, 1 8 hundredths going backwards. So you can add zeros if that helps you see the hundredths. All right. this is your independent practice for the day. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.